This is more of an overview of the quest, the Highlord's Return. Now, for the Highlord's Return, we have to destroy Highlord Krull. The only issue there is we have to first defeat Inquisitor Variss. Now, this quest is only available once you have unlocked the Mage Tower on the Broken Isles. Go to the NPC outside of the Mage Tower. He will give you the opportunity to engage, or sort of fight, or do the scenario, should I say, the Twisting Nether. Now, obviously, sorry, in this scenario, we have to defeat Inquisitor Variss and also keep Velin and Corvus alive. Now, unfortunately, Corvus has basically been trapped by Inquisitor Variss, and once we engage him, if I'm correct, he gets freed. Unfortunately, this is probably the hardest thing you will ever have to do solo in World of Warcraft. Now, when you're watching this may have already been nerfed, which I can imagine will come. This is incredibly difficult, and I'm doing it from the perspective of a Demon Hunter tank. Now, some have said that Demon Hunters do have a significant advantage, primarily from their agile ability as well as the sigils. Now, essentially, Inquisitor Variss is a large elite with, I think, well, obviously, as you can see there, 48 million health. He isn't alone, and this is where the problem lies. With Inquisitor Variss, what we've got to do is nuke him down. We have to be mindful of kind of three abilities he has. First is when you engage him, he will spread a decay around himself. Standing in this decay will cause you to get a dot. Over time, this dot will cause you to also have a stacking dot, which will basically reduce your overall health. He will throughout the fight constantly keep casting some sort of mind attack on you, which obviously does significant damage, and obviously with the more reduced health you have, it's basically going to one-shot you if you stand in the decay too long. So you want to get out of the decay, you want to be in the decay for short periods of time, and also try and mitigate as much as you can at those. Here's a tip: do not interrupt them. Now, the reason I say do not interrupt them is because he also does a drain life. Obviously, if he drains life, he's going to heal up to pretty much full. He will either target yourself or Prophet Valen. I don't think I've ever seen him target Corvus. The issue with that is, obviously, if you've used your interrupt to interrupt something that's not necessary, then you've pretty much wasted your interrupt, and that's a big thing. You also don't want to waste your Sigil of Silence. Obviously, again, this is from a Demon Hunter's perspective, and I'll go into that in a few moments. Now, like I said previously, he spawns three types of ads. The first is an eye. This eye will basically focus you and start doing a damage over time effect to you, or just a continual channeled damage to you, should I say. This does a significant amount of damage, and you need to kill these eyes fast. They've only got about 700,000 health, if I'm correct, and they're pretty easy to kill. So get on them as fast as possible. The second type of mob he spawns is, in my eyes, the biggest ball ache ever. It's a mob which essentially, I think it's the Nether Horrors? I can't remember 100% sure if that's their correct name, but they do also cast, again not 100% sure, a Nether Storm. This Nether Storm does about, if I'm right again, 300,000 damage per tick, and it ticks almost every second. There's 4 of these that spawn each time. So do the math very quickly. If you're taking 300,000 odd damage a second from 4 of them, that's 1.2 million damage a second, and that's what I was taking before. You're literally going to survive 3 to 4 seconds. So, well, with my current health anyway. Now, there's a couple of ways you can approach these. The big one, and I personally see you've got somewhat of an advantage if you're playing a Blood Elf Demon Hunter. Now, the Blood Elf Demon Hunter has the Torrent, which has a mass interrupt, which can interrupt, because all these spells are interruptible. The Demon Hunter also has Sigil of Silence, which obviously you can silence the ground where you're fighting the mob, so that's an opportune moment for you to nuke these things down. They've got about 3.4 million health, if I remember correctly. If your DPS isn't great, I suggest you try and shackle them, slow them, fear them, get them away from Inquisitor Variss as much as possible. If your DPS is pretty poor, kill them, because you're going to have far too many stacked up in this room. And obviously it will only take, well, if you've got 8, like I say, do the math before, there's 1.2 million for 4, 8 is going to be 2.4 million. You will survive 2 seconds, obviously, and then with more and more that come, eventually if the 4 groups spawn, you're dead in a second. So it literally is a case of, you've got 2 options: nuke them down, or try and basically crowd control them. Crowd controlling can be difficult, and that is why I'm also going to go into a little bit of a spec difference that I made with my talents. Now, I've got quite an obscure build, and I've been playing around with this build to try and find the perfect build to deal with this sort of scenario. Now, I went with Fellblade. I really should start from the top. I went with Razor Spikes, just to try and increase my damage slightly. And also your melee attacks snare targets for 50% for 6 seconds. So obviously I can slow other beings down. So obviously if I'm trying to get away from these nether horrors, obviously I can slow them down and get away and use my my leap as best as possible, or Infernal Strike. My Soul Cleave heals you for an additional 150,000 health. Well, now obviously that's important because you're taking so much damage throughout this entire fight. You want anything that can continuously heal you. I'll come into a bit later why I also chose some other bits and pieces. Fellblade obviously allows me to do additional damage to a single target. Now I didn't go for Fell Eruption, which gives me which basically gives me a stun, because I didn't feel like the stun helped me. So I basically thought, okay, Fellblade, let's just do slightly more damage. Soul Rendering, gain 50% leech while Metamorphosis is active. Obviously, I can heal a lot better when I blow my Metamorphosis. I went for Sigil of Chains instead of Concentrated Sigil or Quickened Sigils. Now, it might be better, in all honesty, to go for Quickened Sigils. But that activated for 1 second faster and the cooldown's reduced by 20%. I somewhat think that you might benefit from doing that, in all honesty. I've been using that because it's got basically the same effect as a Death Knight, where it just pulls everything in to the point of where you use it, and also shackles them to the floor and slows them, which was something I was just trying before and I had a lot of problems with. Then I went for Fell Devastation, which for some reason is not on my bars. And now I thought I actually... I'll put it back on anyway. Now, Fell Devastation again allows me to do massive amount of damage to a cone in front of me and heal me as well. I actually thought I got rid of that, but apparently I didn't. And finally, Last Resort. Now, I actually don't think Last Resort helps me all that much, in all honesty. I feel you might be better off with something else. But it's hard to really say. I mean, I've been playing with a fair amount of stuff to actually deal with the nether horrors. Now, obviously continuing, I don't know why I went a bit too much off top of that, continuing with the mobs that Inquisitor Variss spawns, the final one is the Infernal. The Infernal is very slow moving, but also has a constant pulse attack. This pulse attack, again, significant damage. You want to basically keep him as far away from you as possible. And the same with keeping him away from Prophet Valen as well as Corvus. Now, some other notary things in this fight. That Prophet Valen basically gives you this, I'm not entirely sure what it is basically you'll see a circle appear on the floor. If you step into this circle, you will stun everything in the room. Now, or I say stun, you basically, I think it's daze or some sort of effect. But you'll also heal to full health, and you will then be able to obviously try and move or stun or silence some various mobs in around the room. It's hard to know when you should use it effectively. I think it's an oh shit sort of button if you're really in sort of dire straits, jump on it. The final thing to probably mention about this fight is the random knockback that can occur. So if you're fighting on the outskirts, be wary that there's a chance you could randomly at any point be knocked off. I don't know who actually casts that. I think it's actually Highlord Krull that casts that, because I don't think I've ever seen Inquisitor Variss cast it. But again, that's just something you need to be mindful of. Don't stand too close towards the edge, you can be knocked off. With that being said, I'm going to give this an attempt again. I'm probably not going to do that well. There is a couple other things you mentioned as well. I'm not entirely sure how well food and flasks work in here. I know the Demon Hunter sort of buffs you can get, including the Soul Flame of Insight and so forth, they don't actually work. I tested this theory out. They don't do anything, because I used the one that increases health by 25%. I used outside, came in, my health didn't change. I'm not entirely sure if the food buff works. I'm going to use it anyway. And with that being said, I can't really suggest much more. Now, like I say, I'm going to give this a go. There's a high chance I'm going to fail. And this was more of just an instructional breakdown of what's going to occur during the fight. This is a very, very difficult fight, and I think the best I've done is got him down to about 35 million health, and before I died. The problem is there was so much spawned that I was trying to crowd control it, and I don't know if that's the best approach. Personally, I say if you do not have that DPS, like if I couldn't get him down to 25 to 30 million by the time there was 8 of the Nether Horrors out, I need to kill the Nether Horrors essentially. If you are skilled enough to crowd control them, yes, ignore them, crowd control them, and keep them away from Inquisitor Variss. Other than that, I'd say try and kill them. Like I say, you're gonna be a benefit slightly if you're playing a Blood Elf, especially a Blood Elf Demon Hunter. I feel like you have a massive advantage with that, and I am going to give him a go then. Now, I'm going to also start with a Potion of Prolonged Power. Again, I'm not sure if this works, but for the amount I have of them and what they cost, I'm going to try it anyway, because this is such a ball ache. I forgot to also mention that when you first do this quest, you're given a free attempt at him. After that, every sort of attempt after that, it then costs 100 nether shards. So this is my final attempt. I've already spent about 2,000 nether shards today having a go at trying to do this. So let's get this going. I hope you found this video useful, and yeah, let's see how well I do this time.
I'm out of range. Can't attack that.
And there we have it. Unfortunately, I didn't get him down very much, but you can see how manic the fight is. I tried to pump out as much damage as possible. Obviously, Prophet Valiant is doing 25k DPS. He really isn't helping me with this fight. But that's pretty much the fight in a nutshell. I hope you found this video somewhat useful and informative. Sorry if I did babble on a lot about the Demon Hunter approach to this. I don't really know if what I've built is correct. I'm still working on the build. I'm still yet to actually defeat him. I do feel like this is going to get nerfed. This is just incredibly difficult. I think there's a lot of players out there who are going to struggle with this. I mean, I know I'm not the best geared. To be honest, I'm mostly DPS geared anyway. I'm 892 in Vengeance. I've heard a lot of people struggle with this, 900 plus, 910 plus, 915 plus. So don't feel bad if you're struggling. Either way, I hope you found this useful, and I'll catch you next time.